Hello, my name is Andy Krieger, and I'm the inventor of the Krieger Method, a very simple 5-step program to make your foreign accent go away. I'd like to thank you for buying this DVD and showing that extra interest and initiative to try and make your life better. When you learn how to speak without your foreign accent, you will do a better job at work. You may have the opportunity to find a better job. You will learn how to speak so much better, to feel more confident about the way you speak. You will feel better about yourself. I know this is going to happen. Before I tell you what accent reduction is, I'd like to tell you how I discovered this method. Every part of the story, I hope, will help you understand what you are going to learn and do today. Of no importance to you, except when I was in high school, I was very active on student council. And I was making announcements at 3 o'clock on the PA, talking about dances and school activities. Often when I would walk down the hall at the end of the day, sometimes kids would come up to me and say, "Andy, where are you from?" I thought, what a silly question. Why would they ask where I'm from? As far as I knew, people from San Francisco and Vancouver, Canada, we all talk the same. Why would they think that I'm talking in a different way because they think I'm from somewhere strange? I never thought about it, but it will be an important part of the story. I was lucky enough to go back to San Francisco to go to Stanford University, where I studied history and geography, no accent reduction. I was ready to graduate, and a visitor came to Stanford to give a speech. His name was Sargent Shriver. He was the brother-in-law of President Kennedy, who had been assassinated. I loved President Kennedy, and I was very excited to see someone who was a member of his family. So along with 2,000 other students, we filled the auditorium. I think there were about 2,000 of us. And I remember this man talking about the Peace Corps. He was the head of the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps is and was a government organization to get volunteers like me to go to poor parts of the world and be teachers for 2 years. As he spoke, I remember sitting in my seat and thinking, I have never heard anybody speak like this. I was totally enamored, in love with the way that this man spoke. I just could not believe how wonderful I felt listening to him say the words. In a while, I'm going to talk about President Obama, because I think most of us feel the same way when we hear President Obama speak. Sargent Shriver spoke in exactly the same way. Here's what he said, and this is sort of the way that he spoke. He said, "You have a wonderful opportunity to do something with your life, to do something of value, to go to Africa, go to South Asia, go to South America and be a teacher for 2 years as a volunteer in small villages and large cities and help people who need your help. Do something that will make you feel good about yourself. Do something that will help others." And he went on and on. I remember, again, thinking so much of this speech that when it was over, I was, I believe, the first one outside, and I signed up to go to Ethiopia in Africa for 2 years. I didn't call my mother and father at home and say, "What do you think I should do?" I just went ahead and did it. all on the way that Sergeant Shriver was speaking. I was totally taken by the way he spoke. I didn't know then what it was. I have no idea what it was about the way he spoke, but it had a tremendous influence on me. I'm going to teach you today what I didn't know then. I'm going to teach you what it was about the way that this man spoke. Everything that I'm going to teach you has something to do with the way that Sergeant Shriver spoke. I went to Ethiopia, and I believe it was the second week. There was a knock on the door. One of my students appeared, a little boy by the name of Kadani. He said, "Mr. Andy, you are speaking too fast. We cannot understand you." So I realized then that I needed to speak more slowly. You've all received a 6-page sheet that accompanies this DVD, and I want you to look at number 1, which says, "Speak more slowly." So ever since many years ago, I have always tried to speak more slowly. I came back from Ethiopia, and I was a teacher in Vancouver, Canada for, I believe, 7 years, where I taught 7th grade and 10th grade, all subjects, also Canadian history. Late 1970s, I got married and moved to California. And in California, I had a job for 14 years where I was hiring extras for movies. I was an extra casting director. I hired extras for movies such as Pretty Woman. When Julia Roberts walks down Rodeo Drive, I hired all the extras who walked on the sidewalks and were the clerks who didn't speak, who waited on her in the stores. And I did Rocky IV and Star Trek The Next Generation and Back to the Future and Ghost and thousands of TV shows, movies, and commercials. That is of no importance to you except at lunchtime. I had the opportunity every day for 14 years to go to lunch to the Warner Brothers studio and watch movies being made. In the beginning, I was quite excited to have this opportunity, but after a while, I began to, I'll use the word, fall in love with the way that actors were speaking. I loved listening to the way actors were speaking as they made their movies. There was something very special. I didn't know what it was, just as I didn't know what Sergeant Shriver was doing. But I loved hearing these actors speak. I'm going to tell you today, later, what it is, the way that actors speak, that will allow you to copy the way they are speaking. I came back from Los Angeles in the early 90s, and I got a job downtown Vancouver working with actors. I got a job at their union office. Lots of movies are made in Vancouver, and I worked downtown in their office. Of no value to you until in 1997. I got a phone call from an American producer who was in Vancouver to make a movie. I'd worked with this man many times. My job was to work with him and help him do his movie in the best, easiest way. I answered the phone and he said, "Andy, we have a problem. We can't hire any of your actors because they're speaking Canadian." I said, "Robert, what are you talking about? What do you mean Canadian?" He said, "I can't tell you what it is, but they're doing something that is not pleasing to our ear." I think I remember him saying they're speaking too fast. Their words are clumped. Their words are clipped, and we're not comfortable. We don't like the way they talk. It's different. It's not Los Angeles talking. He said, "Andy, you speak American. You're from San Francisco. You speak American. You need to try and figure out how you're doing." So I thought, what is he asking me to do? I need to try and think about what I'm doing. How am I talking? So I thought right away, my father and I speak exactly the same way. My dad is from San Francisco, grew up there, was born there, and when I'm at his house and the phone rings and we answer the phone, nobody can tell the difference. So I realized that he and I must be speaking in exactly the same way. Still no relevance to you. So I sat with my father, and we realized that when we talked, we were putting our tongue and lips in one of 9 positions to push out air and make every word have a long vowel. People in San Francisco seemed to me, because I was doing it, we were talking in longer words. Some of you may know that there's a part of the United States called the South, Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, where they kind of talk like this. Now, I was actually born in North Carolina, and if I'd stay there, I'd be talking like this. They kind of talk with kind of long words, but it's different from San Francisco. But both parts of the country have very long words. It just happens that in San Francisco, we get into some kind of a position before we say a word. So I knew enough to realize that I was putting my mouth in one of 9 positions. When I said a word that began with a B, I didn't say best, I went best. I didn't say why, I went why. I didn't say fast, I went fast. That's the way I was talking. I was making my words longer. Again, no connection with you. So I thought, okay, there are 9 different positions. Every word that begins with an A, E, I, O, U, I go like this. Ask. Often. For the B, M, and P, I went like this. Best. Mention. Patiently. For the D, J, N, and T, I'm skipping a few. Let's try the D, J, N, and T. I put my tongue above my top teeth, like this. Doesn't. Time. Look how long that word is. Time. The F and V. Fast. Very. For the W was why. For the TH was that. Not that, but that. So I knew enough to go to my boss and say, Richard, I think I can teach these actors how to speak American. He said, go ahead. If you can do something to help them get work, sounds great, go ahead. So I began to teach. And in the second week, there was another knock on the door. And I looked over and I saw a lovely black man from West Africa at the door. I knew him. I said, yes, Francis. He said, Andy, want to come to your class? In a very heavy, strong accent. I remember standing there and thinking, no way. Absolutely no way. I don't know what to do with this man. I wouldn't know at all what to do. But it was a very cold day in Vancouver. It doesn't usually get this cold, but it was really cold. And I knew Francis had nothing to do this day. This was a 2-hour class. I thought, he has nothing better to do. I will let him sit in the class just to keep him warm. He was a lovely man. I had a seat. I said, Francis, have a seat. And what happened? He began to participate. And after a few days, his accent began to go away. So since that time, I have taught over 7,000 people like Francis, like actors in Vancouver. I had the opportunity to work with Jackie Chan for a very short time on his movie, The Forbidden Kingdom. I worked with Jackie for only a half an hour, believe it or not, but I did work with Li Bingbing and Christophe Fei Lu and the great Emperor Wang Dexin on this movie. I had a total of 3 weeks working time with these actors. If you rent the movie in English, I hope you will see how beautifully they are speaking, how much more clearly they are speaking, thanks to what I'm going to teach you today. So that's the story. That's how I learned how to teach you accent reduction, by simply showing you how to position your tongue and lips. With this DVD that you've just received, you've also received another DVD. And that shows me teaching another student who speaks your language. It could be that you are speaking Cantonese, Mandarin, Japanese, Korean, Russian, Spanish, Arabic, Farsi, Thai, Filipino, French, I think about 15 or 20 different languages. You have received another DVD that shows me teaching for about 2.5 hours. When I am focusing on explaining to the student, you will see my face. When I am reading the PowerPoint presentation, the camera will go to that PowerPoint. And when the student is speaking, the camera goes to that student. So the PowerPoint that I'm going to use today on my computer is the same PowerPoint that you are going to see on that second DVD. I hope that second DVD is really helpful to you.